Already, so may I now call the meeting to order. So please invite the administration in and also the deputations. Good morning. On behalf of the Bills Committee, I would like to welcome the deputations. I understand that you're here to give us your views on the Inland Revenue and Stamp Duty Legislation Alternative Bond Schemes Amendment Bill 2012. I would also like to welcome the administration's team. For those who require interpretation service, please wear the earpiece and choose the channel that you prefer. We have 7 deputations with us today. And there are 9 deputations not attending the meeting today, but they have provided us with written submissions. I will give each deputation 5 minutes. And after the deputations have spoken, I will invite the administration to give some preliminary response. And then members can ask questions of the deputations and the administration. The Secretariat has uploaded all the submissions received onto the LegCo website. If the deputations today have not given us their written comments, please try to do so after the meeting. And please be reminded that neither your verbal nor your written submissions will be covered by the LegCo Powers and Privileges Ordinance. So first of all, I will invite Mr. Nasirs to speak.
I have 2 points to make. One is that I'm glad to see the way that it's been drafted, which is basically the shell contains the primary elements, allowing a great deal of freedom within the type of structure that can be formulated. The other point I'd like to make is that I think in the DIPN and the SOIPN there should be some references to the materials, given that these are based on Islamic finance. There should be some materials allowing the Commissioner and the Collector to allow persons to refer to that. I'm not saying that you should mention Sharia or Islamic within that, but at least that would give confidence to those who are outside Hong Kong to understand that these are based on Islamic principles, but without necessarily referring to Islamic principles, because I agree it should be neutral in terms of the use of Islam or Muslim, which is understandable. And given the differences within the Islamic world, I think it's probably better for Hong Kong if we leave it neutral following England, and that would be easier for the way the instruments are structured. I've also got some other points on the possibility of records being kept in electronic form, and also the possibility under the stamp duty ordinance of having some sort of tax certificates, but without the interest element in it, as a means by which to deal with the security issue that's left in the other part. Apart from that, I have no further comments as far as I'm concerned from my company. Thank you.
Thank you. 咁咧就黎亞明先生咧，佢就
Mr. Nasir spoke in his capacity as a lawyer, and he is also a member of the Law Society of Hong Kong, and he has also spoken on behalf of the Law Society of Hong Kong. Mr. Eddie Ko is present today, but he does not intend to speak. But I believe we've all read his written submission. Next, we have Mr. Usman Ahmed from Citibank.
For giving us the opportunity to be part of this effort. Just a quick introduction. I am the head of the Islamic banking business for Citigroup for Asia, and prior to that I was also the CEO for the global Islamic business based out of Dubai. We welcome this initiative. We think it is very important as a financial center, one of the global financial centers for Hong Kong, to have the ability to offer Islamic finance to both public and private sector enterprises, and to level the playing field by virtue of this bill. We do think that the flexibility that's offered through the various types of structures as contemplated herein will allow both the public and the private sector to tap the widest possible investor base, both from Asia as well as from the Middle East. We've been extensively involved with the recommendations process to date, and at this point we don't really have any specific concerns about any particular aspects of the bill. We think that should this be passed, it will encourage issuers from Hong Kong to tap the Islamic finance market in various formats, depending on the kind of assets that are available from their portfolio. There are, of course, certain structures that are more preferred in the Middle East than others. That has been highlighted, in the past. But again, this is a very fast-growing field, and there's a lot of innovation that has happened over the last few years. We have been involved extensively with bringing in first-time issuers from Dubai, from Bahrain, from Malaysia, Indonesia, even the German state of Saxony-Anhalt to the Islamic finance market. And the structures that are contemplated here, whether the sale and lease-based structure or the purchase and sale-based structure or the investment-based structure, they have all been used, including the agency-based structure as well, in various forms in precedent sukuk transactions. So we're very confident that these will continue to remain acceptable in the Islamic investor universe, and the specific application of these in the Hong Kong market should not cause any concerns for investors who are looking to also diversify from their home market and find alternative avenues for investment of their Islamic capital. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. 咁我哋都歡迎花旗銀行咧，另外
Yes, thank you. In fact, we also have Mr. Oliver Gore from the Citibank present today, and welcome, Mr. Gore. Next, we have Mr. Chong from the Hong Kong Treasury Markets Association.
Association has been following with interest the government's initiatives to develop Islamic finance in Hong Kong over the past few years. We are pleased to see the introduction of this bill into the Legislative Council, which is a positive and important step forward towards furthering the development of Islamic finance, and in particular a sukuk market in Hong Kong. The Islamic financial industry has become an increasingly important part of the global financial markets, and by developing Islamic finance, Hong Kong can further diversify its financial platform and enhance its standing as an international financial center and an asset management hub. To provide some background, the TMA's Working Group on Development of Islamic Finance in Hong Kong had conducted a study a few years ago, finding that the sukuk structures, which typically involve the use of special purpose vehicles and multiple transfers of assets, may attract additional tax liabilities and stamp duty charges when compared with conventional bonds. Thus, suitable changes of clarifications would be needed to the tax laws in Hong Kong in order to provide a level playing field for the issuance of sukuks compared with conventional bonds. We note that the intention of the bill is precisely so, and we believe that the proposed amendments will help to align the tax and stamp duty treatment for common types of sukuk with their conventional counterparts, thereby providing a level playing field between the two. We support the proposed prescriptive and religion-neutral approach adopted by the bill, which has also been adopted in the United Kingdom and some other jurisdictions. We are also glad to see that after the consultation conducted by the FSTB last year, coverage of the bill has now been expanded to accommodate the agency arrangement. This structure is becoming increasingly popular in the sukuk market, and several landmark sukuk transactions from the Middle East and Malaysia have been structured using this agency structure in recent years. From a market perspective, we hope that the bill will be passed quickly so that market players can sooner make use of Hong Kong's financial platform to issue sukuk. Passage of the bill will remove a big impediment for issuers considering to issue sukuk, and will also open up more options and opportunities for market players. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Au King Lun from BOCHK Asset Management Limited. Good morning, Chairman, members. We support this bill. We speak as a market practitioner. The timing is very good in our view, as we can see that the internationalization of renminbi is gathering pace. In our submission, we have mentioned two reasons here. Look at the bigger picture, the bigger market. BP issued a report last year concerning America, and it is said that by 2030, U.S. will be totally energy self-sufficient, and therefore the Middle East will have to seek alternative buyers, and China, as we can see that in terms of energy and commodities, it has become the biggest consumer. Therefore, the relationship between China and the Middle East is expected to grow closer. And also, there's an objection that by 2020, we're talking about trade flow of $350 billion US, which I think may be an underestimation. Why do you think that this bill is very important to Hong Kong? Because we know Hong Kong is already a trading center for renminbi, and we have been actively developing dim sum bonds. When China and the Middle East trades in greater and greater amount of renminbi, and many of the transactions will be settled in renminbi, and therefore the Middle East investors would have more renminbi to invest. Therefore, this market has a great potential in Hong Kong, and many China Islamic-backed enterprises would like to explore the market in the Middle East. The emergence of Sukuk products would also help to develop the capital market. With this bill passed, I believe Hong Kong will also see a boost in our renminbi market, and also that we'll be expanding into the Islamic finance as well. Thank you, Mr. Au. Next, we have Mr. Sa from Chief Imam, Hong Kong.
I'm grateful for inviting me on this important meeting, and I would like to tell about the basic difference between conventional banking on bonds and sukuk. Islamic religion has introduced an economic system to the world, and that has been practiced for last 2 decades, and more than 200 financial institutes are doing experience on Islamic finance. And Islam has forbidden to deal with the usury or interest. This is the basic law of the religion of Islam. And the second important aspect, that there should be no gharar. Gharar means there should be no speculation in the financial system. No artificial money is allowed in the religion of Islam. And in Islamic faith, the trading in the debts are not allowed. Though Islamic sukuk is a product that is based on actual product, actual things, not only dealing with the debts. So this is the basics in the Islamic finance, and sukuk is one of the product, not the complete Islamic finance. And if we see in the Hong Kong, it is a great market for the Muslim as for the non-Muslim. For the Muslims, they are bound to deal as per the instruction or the guidance of the faith or the religion of Islam. So according to Islam, a Muslim cannot deal with usury or interest. So for them, there is a limitation, especially in Hong Kong. But if you adopt the Islamic finance, indeed there will be an opportunity for the Muslims as well as for others to make the business, to make the deal. So the first and the most important thing that I appreciate for the government who is introducing the Islamic finance in Hong Kong, indeed I hope, as you have seen in the past few years, worldwide, there will be turmoil in the economic system, in banking. It was because of artificial money, it was because of trading in the debts. So Islamic finance was saved in the past. So it should be adopted. And the most important thing here in Hong Kong that we need, that is the mortgage, Islamic finance, because there are a lot of product in Islamic finance. One is the sukuk, one is the takaful, that is the equivalent to the insurance, and one is the baysalam, and one is the istisna, and one is this mortgage. The mortgage, again, it is the protection of the bank as well as the protection of individual. So it should be adopted. So Islamic finance believes in profit and loss sharing, not only sharing in the profit. So Islam also gives the benefit for both parties. So it should be adopted in a way so it is beneficial for all. Another important point is Islamic finance sells the commodity when it comes into the position. If someone has no position, then he cannot trade. So it is again a protection for the parties, and purchasing and selling of loan is also prohibited. Islamic finance says that no gain without either efforts or liability. So if it is adopted here, I believe many Muslims will get benefit, as well as the other people will have a chance to make money through this thing. And I believe and I'm grateful for the government of Hong Kong for introducing this bill. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. 下一位係自善培訓及教育機構嘅何麗儀女士。
Next, we have Ms. Virginia Ho.
No further addition. However, I would like to highlight that Hong Kong is in need of well-trained finance professionals to work on this alternative bond and the subsequent Islamic finance products, if there is any in the future. Manpower development in this respect should be part of the plan in the introduction of this initiative. The administration should give recognition to suitable qualification, both training and practical. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 好，政府有冇咩回應啊？
Any response from the administration? Thank you, Chairman. If I may, I would be using English to provide some preliminary response.
Like the chairman, I would like to take this opportunity to thank for the speakers who spoke just now, and those organizations and persons who have submitted written submissions to the Bills Committee expressing their views on our legislative proposal for the introduction or to remove existing hurdles for the development of Islamic finance in Hong Kong. At this stage, the development of a sukuk market in Hong Kong. So from our point of view, I must express our appreciation for the overwhelming support we heard just now for this legislative initiative. I think that sort of overwhelming support based on three reasons. First, there is actually a need on the ground for the development of Islamic finance, especially in Hong Kong as an international financial center. That market development presents us with a very good opportunity in terms of timing. We have just heard about from the market practitioners how they see the development of this market now vis-a-vis the development of Hong Kong, especially the development of Hong Kong as an offshore renminbi center. We think that this is a very good marriage of various factors leading to the Hong Kong's unique position and advantage in developing this market. The second point is we do recognize there are hurdles on the way, and the biggest hurdle now is in the taxation regime that we have that may put Islamic bonds or sukuk because of their unique characteristics that has been just very well explained just now from what we heard, that may require some changes in our legislation so that they will develop on the same footing as other conventional bonds from the taxation perspective. So along the way, in order to achieve that objective, we do have to think of the best approach in terms of drafting the legislation. And I'm glad to hear that there was support expressed just now for the proposed legislative framework we have put in the bill, mainly by putting the various sukuk structure and nature in the principal legislation and setting out the conditions. But some of those conditions will be further explained in the DIPN to be issued by the taxation authorities. So we took note of some comments on the need for some reference to the characteristics of these products or the bigger context in the DIPN. We will duly consider these suggestions while the taxation authorities draw up their practical guidance note on this respect. The third reason for, I think, the support we heard, of course, I would, of course, hesitate to mention that on the individual comments on the drafting of the bill, on the very specific wording. I think we can also take the opportunity of the Bills Committee's scrutiny process, ensuing process, to look into them in further detail. But I would just say that the third and last, but not the least, reason for the support perhaps is that we have admittedly taken some time in drawing up the proposed legislation, since the first idea or the concept was mooted with the market, because there are quite a lot of complexities and technical considerations involved. And also we have taken time to consult the market with professional organizations or with individual market practitioners during the process before we actually put pen to paper in drawing up the bill. So we of course put out public consultation earlier on, and we received very useful comments. And in the form of the bill, we see or have been presented to the Bills Committee. Actually, they have reflected quite a number of comments received from the market or commentators during the consultation process, mainly on the coverage that some speakers have just mentioned. We expand the scope of the coverage of the Sukuk products. And talking about, I think one speaker just now commented the bill allows flexibility. That is true, because even in terms of coverage, we build in some flexibility in the bill so that if market development requires so, we can, with the FS Financial Secretary's authorization and with the electrical approval, we can introduce further products type under the bill. Similar flexibilities are built into the bill. And other comments we have taken into account regards those, for example, other record-keeping period, limitation period, etc. So I think I would just leave the time open for further discussions, and we look forward, as speakers comment, a quite speedy scrutiny of the bill with the Bills Committee, so that we can have this tool and infrastructure for the Islamic community and the wider community, as well as the professions working in this area, so that they can really embark on more initiatives in this respect. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. 唔該曬秘書長。李慧瓊。
Thank you, Ms. Starry Lee. Thank you, Chairman. And I would like to welcome the deputations. So we can see that the deputations all welcome this bill. So this bill will help to promote the development of Islamic finance in Hong Kong. Now, Chairman, there are some deputations which have given us written submissions but are not present today. They include the Law Society and also some accountancy firms. And so I would like to ask about the response from the administration and the deputations. Reasonable commercial return condition. Now, many deputations of the view that it's difficult to define this reasonable return condition. Some have asked for the deletion of this. Do you agree? What is your view? And then maximum term length condition of 15 years. Some deputations are of the view that we may not need this maximum term length condition. So can I ask the deputations whether they would like to respond on these 2 points? All right, who would like to respond on these 2 points? In fact, I understand that Mr. Nasir has referred to this.
In relation to reasonable return, I think that's something that needs some consideration. Also to the period in which the some sort of deposit is to be kept. I think that is also something that needs consideration because of the long-term effect of that. No solutions have been suggested, but I think the Law Society's views on paragraph 4 clearly after having a meeting with the Law Society, that was the concern of some of the members. And I think that needs to be addressed in the bill, or perhaps the relevant DIPN or SOIPN, to make it clear. Otherwise it would make it difficult for those people wishing to introduce products, and it could actually be a disincentive. So I think that's a crucial element that needs to be considered. The Law Society has also looked at some other elements, which I'm not repeating, which is about definition about material time, because the arguments are rather circuitous, but in relation to the comments just made, yes, Law Society has considered that, and it's of the view that the administration should look at that carefully.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. O. I understand that you are in the asset management business. So in future, when Islamic bonds are issued, then will these two conditions be an obstacle? We hope that the maximum length term can be cancelled, and also reasonable commercial return condition. We hope that the content can be clarified so that we know what framework we are or we will be operating in. Mr. Goh? Just want to supplement concerning reasonable commercial return. Now, I want to say that for sukuk arrangements, there will need to be flexibility. But then the interest cannot be regarded, so it can be at a discount or in form of additional charges or banking charges. So in terms of taxation, it may be substance over form, but then it may be there may be difficulty. So maybe in the implementation of reasonable commercial return, there can be details written down in the DIPN. All right, anyone else who would like to give their comments on this point? Ms. Starry Lee? Yes, thank you. I'm sure we will follow up when we start clause by clause scrutiny of the bill. Now, I of course hope to see the promotion of Islamic bond development in Hong Kong. But I understand that in Hong Kong, we don't have that culture. So I don't think we in Hong Kong have all the necessary conditions for the promotion of Islamic bonds. And can I ask the administration what measures it has in mind to further promote the development of Islamic bonds in Hong Kong? Yes, perhaps I can give a reply. I think the timing of the bill is just right. With the internationalization of the renminbi, many overseas investors have become interested in renminbi. In fact, early this year, the HKMA went to the Middle East to promote renminbi, and the response was very encouraging. In fact, my bank has received invitations from institutions in the Middle East to visit those countries to explain the renminbi business, internationalization, and opportunities. And we understand that there will be an increasing demand for renminbi and also, of course, US dollar. And so I'm of the view that there should be room for development with regard to sukuk. Previously, when Hong Kong wanted to promote Islamic finance, it didn't possess all the necessary conditions. But then, looking ahead, I think we have ample opportunities. Because at the moment, Hong Kong still has advantages as the center for RMB bonds. Mr. Goh? In 2008-09, the Malaysian government came to Hong Kong to promote Islamic bonds. not much follow-up action was taken, and that was because the necessary platforms were not there. And I think this bill will help to greatly reduce the transaction costs, because there is a transfer of ownership management in Islamic finance, and that would mean that tax has to be paid. Now, Malaysia is the second Labuan financial center, and concerning the Labuan Financial Authority, it's under the Ministry of Finance, and there is a Labuan International Exchange. Malaysia accounts for 70% of the issuance of Islamic bonds this year. We have a lot of talents, and so we can have cooperation with the Hong Kong government. And we have also issued RMB bonds. Tengah Capital has issued $500 million of RMB bonds. And then through BOC, the Kuala Lumpur office, settlement can be done. In other words, we can have RMB settlement through Bank of Gara and also Bank of China, Hong Kong. And there is this stock code 4320 on the Hong Kong Exchange. It's a mobile phone company in Malaysia. It's Labuan listing as and then there is dual listing in Hong Kong. Now, so I think we can make reference to this listing. This Malaysian company, code 4320, is listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. And you can try to learn something from this example. And then I've got some new status to share with you. For Labuan, our main business is international oil trade. Malaysian businessmen started oil trade in the Middle East quite some time ago. And we also have Middle East oil traders who are registered here. And there is a lot of oil money. And I think the Hong Kong government can get some inspiration from this. That's the first point. Second, now Malaysia has got US dollar settlement, and we are actively working on RMB settlement. On the 18th of May last year, Bank of Gara or in the Beijing Malaysian consulate website announced that there were 17 banks in Malaysia using a MyClear system for renminbi settlement. And then in November 2011, the Ministry of Commerce of the PRC government announced that if there was an overseas renminbi equivalent that could be regarded as cash injection into China for investment, so long as there is approval from the Ministry of Commerce. So these dim sum bonds can help all businessmen and the government promote the internationalization of renminbi. So I hope that you will very carefully consider how Hong Kong government can try to absorb Middle East funds. And as Malaysia is very near to Hong Kong, and so there can be exchanges, there can be tax substance. So I think there should be more exchange between the two places on taxation matters. Tomorrow, HKMA will meet the Bank of Gara in Hong Kong. That's all for members' information. Thank you. Yes, thank you. I understand that Malaysia has done very good work in this regard. Mr. Kenneth Leung.
A number of questions. The first question is a factual question. But before I ask that, I think I welcome the tabling of this bill by the government, and I also support the bill. although I comment, I would like to make is that maybe, although I noted that Ms. Lina Yan said that the government has taken some time to do the consultation for the past couple of years, I do think that the bill is a little bit late, but late is better than never. First question is just a factual question. Maybe all the guests here could give me some information on that. I would like to know the Muslim population in Hong Kong and also the Muslim population in mainland China. Is there any, maybe the government can also give me this piece of information as well. Is there any statistics on the Muslim population in these two jurisdictions?
Yes.
About the Hong Kong Muslim population, it is estimated 200,000. And about the mainland, I don't have information, but indeed there are more than that population living in China. And also the area close to Hong Kong, Guangdong, Shenzhen, there are many Muslims, businessmen who are settled here in the China. They come for the business. And there are many companies of Middle East now, they have opened their offices here in Hong Kong. And they want to start the business in Hong Kong by Islamic finance. So the local permanent resident, they are about 200,000 living in Hong Kong. Okay. That is my estimate. Maybe it is different from the official statistics.
Okay, thank you. Go-san,
okay, I got this figure from two sources. The first one, I read a report 5 years ago. It mentioned that the Muslim population in China is about 22 million. And secondly, I met Ningxia government with our Deputy General Director in Beijing, and he mentioned that no official figure on hand, probably less than 30,000 million. And as far as I know, besides Xinjiang or Muslim, there are 6 million Chinese, 6 million people in Ningxia, and among that, 1/3, that means around 2 million Chinese Muslim there in Ningxia autonomy area. And in Henan province, just in Jingzhou, the capital of Henan, there are 1 million Chinese Muslims. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Note that in Malaysia, when Islamic finance started, at one point, the non-Muslims were investing more in Islamic finance than the Muslims were because of the.
Say that the main market is not just Hong Kong and China. I think it's the whole of Middle East. Just to give you an example, there have been a lot of demand for QD. Just a couple of sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East recently got a $1 billion quota, and just one institution. And so it's not just a number of population, it's really the quantity of money that is really the driver.
Eddie, go. Eddie.
At the time I met the Ningxia government. There are Chinese Muslims in Beijing, and also they met Ningxia government. They mentioned that it's good to raise the wholesale Islamic bonds through Hong Kong. And that's why I suggest the Hong Kong government to do more communication roadshows to the Ningxia people in Beijing and also in Yinchuan. And for the retail one, in 18th of May 2012, the third bank of Ningxia government, Shizheishan Yinhang, Shizheishan Bank, had cooperated with a bank in Malaysia, a retail bank in Malaysia, and approved by Bank Negara. That's why I think that I talked to the first and second Islamic bank in Ningxia, and they're still planning for that. That's why I suggest the Hong Kong government to do more things to them. And the head of these two banks, the government officer of the Ningxia autonomy region at the same time. Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Mr. Nasir?
I think it's also important to note that it's not just Muslim individuals, but as the number of Islamic banks and takaful companies increase, then there is a greater demand for them to be Sharia compliant, and therefore they are looking for products which are Sharia compliant. And therefore it's a snowballing effect in the sense that the greater number of institutions, and those institutions looking for investments and, of course, bonds. So I think that's an important part to look at.
Okay.
And Hong Kong would be ideally suited because it's an international center, and institutions around the world, as the numbers increase, there will be a greater demand, and Hong Kong would then be able to service those, and therefore it's not directly related to individual Muslims alone.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you. Just a couple of points to add on what has already been said. When it comes to institutional demand for Islamic finance, I think it's important to realize that any institution that intends to tap the Islamic finance market, either by virtue of sukuk or other structures, can attract Islamic liquidity from anywhere in the world, as long as the underlying structure and documentation meets the requirements of the principles of Islamic finance. So the actual liquidity pool that can be accessed is not dependent just on the domestic liquidity coming from retail investors from Hong Kong or from mainland China. It would in fact be primarily directed towards attracting liquidity in the Middle East as well as in the Islamic centers of Asia. Then when it comes to the retail market, the consumer market, of course, for those, for that particular segment, having Islamic deposit and asset products would give the individual consumers the choice and the ability to invest in line with their own sort of beliefs and their own faith. So for the wider, I think, proposition, what we're really hoping is that this initiative will enable Hong Kong-based corporates as well as Hong Kong listed transactions to attract the vast pool of liquidity from investors who only invest in a Sharia compliant manner. And in all the transactions, the sukuk transactions that have been done across the world, we've seen that it has proven to be the most inclusive way to tap the market, because not only can you attract the Islamic investors, but even the conventional non-Islamic investors are, welcome to invest in the same transaction.
Okay. Thank you. Ho Chiu-jie.
Ms. Ho.
There are a few things the administration can do to promote Islamic finance. The administration should have an overall strategy to promote a broadly comprehensive Islamic finance product such as takaful, trade, finance, and wealth management, in order to give more choices to investors and enhance Hong Kong's wealth status as the financial center. Secondly, the administration should promote these because Islamic finance is not religion-bound. 65% of the consumer are non-Muslim. So I think the administration can also promote this concept to the investors. In order to make this a success, I think we need to really look into the education side and training side so that we have enough talent to support our initiative. This is our view.
Okay, thank you. Chun Sang.
Mr. Zhou.
To the discussions, if we look at the interest in Islamic finance throughout the world, that's been increasing right across, not just in Muslim countries. So if we look at the interest in Europe, for example, led by London, and we've also seen the French also look at it. And in Asia Pacific, for example, we've also seen the Japanese, the Koreans, as well as in Australia, efforts have been made to actually introduce changes in legislation to effectively provide users of finance the ability to tap also into the liquidity that the Islamic markets do provide. So from that perspective, I think there is, it's quite imperative in respect of this development that the Hong Kong government actually looks at this quite closely, and to bring this bill forward to join the rest of the global community in this respect. Yeah.
Hi, thank you, Chairman. Just two questions, both on the market itself. Could our speakers today just walk me through in further detail, because I understand that there are quite a number of sovereign wealth funds who would like to make investment in this part of the world, Hong Kong and or mainland China, particularly in real estate sector. Can someone enlighten me as to how the development of the sukuk market in Hong Kong can help or facilitate these sovereign wealth funds or financial institutions to make investment into Hong Kong or China? That's my first question. The second question relates to a comment made by Mr. Asher just a few minutes ago. He mentioned about Islamic mortgage. I just want to address this question to the Hong Kong government. Are there any regulatory or taxation hurdle which would prohibit the introduction of Islamic mortgage product in Hong Kong? These are my two questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Who? Mr. Ahmed?
Your first question, I think Islamic finance can be instrumental in two ways in attracting sovereign wealth funds to invest in, particularly in the real estate sector in Asia and in this in Hong Kong and mainland China. Firstly, a lot of investors prefer for the underlying stock or the shares of the companies that they're investing to be Sharia compliant. And there's a certain set of rules that have been accepted and by international index managers, for example, the Dow Jones Islamic Index, wherein no more than, say, 1/3 of the debt that is taken by a particular company can be non-Islamic or interest-bearing debt for the underlying stock to qualify as being Sharia compliant. Therefore, for maintaining Sharia compliance of the equity, it's important to be able to leverage a particular investment on an Islamic basis. And that's where the significance of Islamic debt and instruments like sukuk comes in. And then, of course, in addition to that particular benefit, which would create more liquidity in the underlying stocks because there's a greater investor following, the other advantage is that by structuring the debt on a, if I may use that term, on a Sharia compliant basis, we are able to tap the widest possible investor base, as I mentioned earlier. So the ability of those transactions to be executed successfully at the best possible pricing is enhanced by having those underlying transactions structured to be Sharia compliant.
Thank you. Mr. Nasser?
As I said, I like the way in which this ordinance has been drafted, in the sense that it gives you the essential features but leaving everything else flexible, and therefore I think it would be easier for those who structure these within the bill to be able to do that, as well as comply with the provisions of the ordinance. And so from that perspective, I do like its flexibility in the sense that it retains, actually there must be quite a lot of research done. It's amazing that not having a Sharia scholar, I'm not sure they had a Sharia scholar, but they've actually distilled the key features that are required in order to put together Islamic structure, but left all the other details out, and therefore it will provide some flexibility there.
Okay. Outside.
Yes. Just want to go back to the theme of renminbi internationalization, just answering the question whether the sukuk development would be useful for investment. In fact, it's not just a one-way traffic. As I explained earlier, that with the trade between China and the Middle East increases over time, there will be excess renminbi being accumulated in the region, and for those Middle East investors who are, for religious reasons, want to invest in Sharia investment product, then we need to provide them with that vehicle. But from a corporate perspective, by raising offshore renminbi through sukuks, it will facilitate their foreign direct investment into China. As you know now, there's a policy differentiation between dollar FDI and renminbi FDI. I don't want to go into detail. We don't need to here. But and further down the road, you also mentioned where the Swiss, the sovereign wealth fund making investment in China. I think for several reasons. I think ultimately the goal we would like to see is to have renminbi being treated as a reserve currency. And for that to happen, you need to have a matured capital market to provide liquidity. And that's why the development of the Sukuk is so important, in my view. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Edigo?
I try to sum up your two questions into 2 points. One is the compliance. The second one is costing. For compliance, all Sukuk need, in Malaysia, all the Sukuk issued need to fulfill SARA principle, and those with professional people from SARA bodies. So I would suggest Inland Revenue, in order to speed up the issuance of Sukuk, I would suggest the Inland Revenue Department to include such a professional body or professional people into your committee team, or even in the DIPN college there, and to speed up the compliance issues, and also to the other commercial institute as well. And secondly, for your point, property, for some of the case that would include hotel projects. I recall that hotel is not allowed to be included in the Sukuk. So if yours is only a property project, that's good. But if it includes some kind of a hotel element, so it should be excluded. For other exception interests, I don't want to mention here. And the other one, mortgage. For Sukuk, interest element is not allowed inside, but probably you can repackage it as some kind of discount issues or other banking charges arrangement, as I mentioned before. So I think commercial institutions need to be aware of those terms and the promotion. That will be quite strict from the SARA's principle and Islamic principles. Very strict. And also propaganda promotion as well. And finally, I want to bring out a business case from Iraq, not Iran, Iraq. I read from a book that after the U.S. entered into the Iraq, there would be a huge demand in Islamic finance there. And the Islamic finance arrangement in Iraq differs from province. So that would bring me another view to China, because Chinese central government said that Islamic finance would be in Ningxia, Yinchuan. So I'm not sure whether in the future whether the Islamic arrangement in Ningxia or Yinchuan will be different from other provinces from China. So I think that I would suggest IRD aware of this point and try to create flexibility as far as possible. But at the same time, I think that will be, I foresee that there will be a conflict or maybe difficulties in terms of jurisdiction and tax substance. Yeah, that's why.
Mr. Isaac?
Yeah. Yes, actually, these two questions is not related to me. The government or some expert in the institution can answer. But for the basic, the mortgage, conventional mortgage and Islamic mortgage has a difference. In Islamic mortgage, the individual or bank, both are the partner in the property. Like if an individual pay 20%, he is the owner of only 20%. Against the conventional way of mortgaging, that the bank give the loan. In this way, it is not allowed because it is interest based. So the Islamic way, he is owner of only 20% or 10%, whatever he is paying. The rest is the rest owner is the bank. Then the bank give on rent basis to that individual. At the end, when the bank receive its cost or with profit, then with the last installment he sell this the 80% portion of that property to the individual. So in this way, religiously it becomes okay, and individual is happy, and also the bank is safe.
政府有冇咩回應啊？
I think under the bill, of course, if property transactions are involved as part of the structure for Islamic sukuk, the bill actually seeks to exempt them from stamp duty. But going back to the Islamic or mortgage issue, I think I heard what Mr. Koh explained it in very well terms, and also the chief imam also explained in Hong Kong. So systemically, we are not sort of seeing problems brought to our attention per se, but we are open to look into it if there are any taxation issues that may be involved in that respect. But if I may just take the opportunity to respond to the various call for the promotion and contact with other authorities in promoting Islamic finance in Hong Kong. I think we do very much value the opportunity to go into contact and learn more from the Malaysian authorities. And I think, thank you for the very good advice that we should also step up contacts with other parties, including the Ningxia and Yanquan authorities in that respect. So, and also we will look into the sort of professional training situation to see whether there can be strengthened partnership of various entities involved. Thank you.
Mr. Leung, I don't have any further questions. Mr. Abraham Sheikh.
And I'd like to ask Imam Mufti Ashad to enlighten us. This legislation is neutral as to religion. Can this type of legislation be practical, that be neutral to religion, and how does this compare to other Malaysian similar legislation?
If it has been made the law in Hong Kong, I believe it will be good for everyone, and it will not be binding to any party to deal with Islamic finance, but it is an opportunity for those who want to make business or deal or want to get the house through Islamic finance. So it is a facility, I believe. And also the same time, it is in the past few years and in many words, in many countries of the world, it is proven that it is a safe transaction finance, and it is good for everyone. Actually, the Islamic finance is not only for the Muslim. Like it has been adopted in UK, as it has been mentioned, and some other in France and some other non-Muslim countries. So it is a facility for the resident and for other people who want to invest in Hong Kong, and they are Muslim and they want to make a business in Islamic way. So that would be a good chance and good opportunity for them.
No, my question is, because this legislation is neutral in terms of religion.
Yes.
But my question is, actually, I just seek some understanding. How can this divorce from the Sharia, from the Islamic law, when you have such a instrument? Can it be in this legislation? Do you see this it being successful, being neutral to religion? That's my question.
All right. Let's ask Mr. Nasir to reply.
Yeah, we've got the specific products, the contracts that are mentioned here. What they've done in this legislation is extract the primary elements of those products, and therefore it's Sharia compliant in the sense that it is broadly accepted that those are the essential characteristics of those contracts. For instance, if it's a wakala, it's agency, and therefore it's agency. If it's a musharaka, then it's a partnership. And therefore, if you look at those specific contracts, under Sharia, those specific elements for those contracts have been incorporated in the ordinance, but all the other detail has been left out, and therefore I think it's flexible enough, and therefore it's compliant with Sharia to that extent. Anyone looking at it would say, ah yes, the primary elements within each of those contracts are there. Whether or not there's going to be compliance would be up to the Sharia scholar, but he would look at the details, and the details, which I've said hopefully would come under DIPN. But as the primary elements are concerned, they're within that, and those who are familiar with Islamic products and Islamic contracts will know that those primary elements of the contracts are already incorporated there.
So this legislation is not in itself a isolated case. It still have to be subjected to the Sharia laws, right?
No, it's Sharia law doesn't apply in Hong Kong. This is the law in Hong Kong, and what it's done is it's incorporated the primary elements, but it doesn't say that Sharia law shall apply.
But this would the Sharia law would apply to the products, would it?
In essence, anybody wishing to come to Hong Kong and create a product would look at the ordinance to seek the specific exemptions, because in having an Islamic contract, you need a number of steps, because Islamic contract, in a finance, you just have a loan and you have interest on that. But for an Islamic contract, you need to have a number of steps, for instance, trade in a product being sold back and forth, and that creates, under our present ordinance, liability to tax. And what this does is remove that liability to tax for the specific purpose of that trade which is required to make finance possible. So Islamic finance is not actually finance as in banking finance, but requiring banks to become traders in effect. And therefore it allows for that particular exemption for the particular tax that would arise in Hong Kong. And I'm quite happy that it's neutral, because within Islam there's so many different schools of law that one school may disagree with another school, and it's not really helpful to have all of that within our structure, and therefore the neutrality of it is actually quite useful to everyone.
That's what. Sorry. My understanding, which limited understanding, but the Islamic laws is infiltrated into every part of one life. How can a legislation be neutral of this Islamic law? Is that my understanding is wrong?
Well, Islamic law, as far as Muslims are concerned, it affects him in every aspect of his life, and Imam Rashid is the scholar on that.
Yes.
But as far as others are concerned, it is no more than, for those who are non-Muslims, is no more than somebody, an institution saying, well, we want to invest in socially responsible investing. So that means we don't want tobacco, we don't want alcohol, we don't want, and so somebody investing on that basis would be very close to somebody investing on Islamic principles, except that they've got additional elements of interest involved in it.
Yeah, the reason why I want to ask is this: we want to go in with our eyes open, rather than just that we like the products and we can accept a lot of things which we don't understand.
Yeah.
And that's the whole purpose of today's meeting here, so that we can seek understanding from the enlightened ones.
Yes. I hope my answer have enlightened you on that.
Mr. Ahmed.
Yes, I just want to elaborate that for any specific transaction that would incorporate the provisions of this bill, there would actually be transaction-specific documentation. That documentation would benefit from providing tax neutrality effectively to Islamic finance as compared to conventional. So this really serves to level the playing field for Islamic finance transactions to be no more expensive than conventional transactions from a taxation point of view. The governing law of any particular documentation would be either the local law that is recognized in the jurisdiction, or it could be international law. For example, it could be English law or the law of any other internationally accepted jurisdiction. The approval process for a particular transaction document would involve going to certain internationally recognized, well-renowned Sharia scholars. So they would look at the particular structure, they would look at the documentation, and notwithstanding the fact that the governing law could be English law or Hong Kong law, they will evaluate the structure and the documentation under the principles of Islamic finance. And if they believe that the structure and documentation complies with the principles of Islamic finance, they will approve it to be Sharia compliant. But the documentation doesn't need to be governed by Sharia law for them to do that. And therefore, what we're really doing here is providing the enabling legislation for transactions to be structured such that they can then be, compliant both with the relevant governing law as well as the principles of Islamic finance.
Thank you. Then my next question is, have there been any cases in other jurisdictions where such alternative bonds took place, that there have been a non-compliance to the Sharia laws that eventually end up in court, that this would put the investors into a rather embarrassed or a disadvantaged position?
Yes. Mr. Edigo, you want to add?
I'm not sure whether I can answer your question exactly, but I will try to bring out 3 cases for your reference. First of all, London, besides Malaysia, London and Dubai is another 2 key Islamic centers. And according to the, I remember that according to the law in London, they still adopt the religion-neutral approach. I think from government's point of view, there's no ground to impose Islamic jurisdiction into their laws. And in Malaysia as well. And that's why I said I just proposed IRD to include a SARA member into their department and in the committee and the IPN. This is the first point. And second one, I read from there are 2 business cases. I think more than the deal structure, if the Islamic bankers or other bankers, they want to deal with their investors or try to arrange some kind of Islamic financial arrangement to their investors, they need to include professions from SARA bodies to comply SARA principle. I think that's something on top of government jurisdictions. The first case is Normula's case in Labuan. So the Normula tried to rearrange the deal structure from a conventional deal structure into an Islamic deal structure to, with an opinion from SARA bodies. So I think that you can take this as a reference for that. And second one is Esther, AXIATA. That's related to the listing one, stock code 4320. They use the airtime, they are mobile carrier, they use the airtime as an undertaking to arrange the deal structure to issue Islamic sukuk. So I think I can, this can answer part of your questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I think
Mr. Nasirs?
the case in England, Bexinco and Kuwait Finance, I think, which one of the parties, having taken a loan in Islamic finance, then said, well, this is not in accordance with Islamic law, and tried to introduce that, and the court said, it's not the application of Islamic law, it's an application of contract law. Therefore, you can't actually incorporate Islamic law into our laws just because you're incorporating some of the elements. And in fact, in Malaysia, there was a case where the judges tried to interpret Islamic principles within the judgment, and I think they changed the rule now that only Bank of Negara has a special interpretation unit which will interpret Islamic principles for the purpose of those products rather than the courts. And so even in Malaysia, they've addressed that. So it's not going to be, and I've not known of any other country, not even Pakistan, unless they have a specific Islamic court where they can impose Islamic law. Because it's not really certain which Islamic law would apply, because actually there are 5 schools of thought. So I know there are countries like India, Pakistan, Singapore that do have Islamic courts in relation to certain parts, but then those are well defined and set out. So there's no problem about incorporating Islamic law into a common law country. Because even if we were to follow being a common law country, looking at Malaysia, they haven't got any authorities that we could adopt because Bank Negara has taken over that.
Yeah, sorry, Chairman. Okay. My limited knowledge and my ignorance actually put me into this number of questions. That under the common law, we enter into a contract. If the contract, the product that we enter into that contract, that product is subjected to Sharia laws. The Sharia law is an interpretation that could be open because there's no, as you said, there's no law. So when you enter into a contract or something that is wrong, doesn't make the contract right. That's my
that was covered in Beximco. So if you read the Beximco judgment and Kuwait Finance and Kuwait Bank, then that's covered in that. And as I said earlier, and the courts haven't incorporated Sharia law into contracts. And in fact, that's good. And I think you've covered some aspect of that.
Mr. Ahmed.
I think the key point is that the governing law of the contract is not Sharia law. The contract complies with the principles of Islamic finance, but the governing law is still, common law or English law.
Thank you for your explanation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Asher?
Yes, actually, it is just the facility or opening a window for those who want to make their business according to their religious requirement. So it has no contradiction with others, or it is not taking out from the overall laws of the country or the finance law. So just it is a facility, I believe, for those who want to deal, or even for the investors who want to keep their investment safe. So this is one of the way that they can deal through Islamic finance.
Thank you.
Mr. Edigo?
One point, additional point to Mr. Nasir, or maybe part of the answer to this gentleman. So Malaysia adapt a common law, and so Bursa Malaysia, and they adapt, they are onshore. But we Labuan, we are offshore, and we adapt a common law as well. But we have additional legislation, Islamic legislation on top of Malaysia. So I think that I agree that this gentleman that both would not be contradicted. So because the one who arranged the deal would look at both law at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. 李慧瓊議員，你係咪？
Ms. Starley, any further question? Mr. Kenneth Leung.
Follow up these legal issues. Now, although I understand that in interpreting the transaction documentation, it is the governing law, it's either sometimes English law or New York law, which will be relevant for the instrument. But I hope, I mean, the influence of the Islamic law is still there. I hope I can answer Honorable Abraham Sheikh's question. For example, if you got a silk code, I think the issuer would invariably appoint a Sharia committee, and that is a specified committee with scholars sitting there. And I do think, invariably, I think in these transaction documents, either as a termination event or event of default, if the Sharia committee rules that the product is no more Sharia compliant, is my understanding correct?
Yes, so I mean, if the products are usually structured on the basis that they receive approval, being Sharia compliant, but there is within some products there's flexibility as well from the Sharia. As we said, you've heard the 5%, the 1/3 rule, 5% rule. They apply in different levels and also different schools. So yes.
Mr. Chong.
Just to add from the various discussions, and again, when you look at the governing law of the contracts, and also for the sukuk, for example, it's either, if it's an international, it's English law, New York law, Malaysian law, Singapore law, for example. Getting the Sharia opinion is one aspect of it, and that's a deliverable for the bond offering itself. And the Sharia opinion itself is relevant for investors who require them, and this will be investors who are Islamic investors. So it doesn't preclude conventional investors from investing in this sukuk as well. So from that perspective, you know, non-Sharia compliance at the end of the day is not an event of default, because the bonds was the sukuk themselves was carry on as an instrument for the 5 years or the 10 years that they are issued for. So the delivery of the Sharia opinion is just one aspect of that. And to gain the broadest base of investors, the arrangers of these bond offerings will use a panel of internationally recognized Sharia scholars to provide their pronouncement, so that the investor base can actually, as broad an investor base can actually buy into these products. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Ahmed.
Usually, depending on the kind of product, there would be provisions built into the contract that are meant to ensure ongoing Sharia compliance. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if a contract is structured against a pool of real estate assets, if there is a need to dispose of those assets for some reason during the life of the sukuk, there would be a provision in the contract that provides for a replacement of those assets with other Sharia compliant assets, so that underlying lease arrangements can essentially continue. So, you know, that should ensure that Sharia compliance is not at risk on an ongoing basis, as long as the conditions of the document are met. Secondly, I think it's important to realize that Islamic finance has been evolving over the last couple of decades and will continue to evolve. And new instruments, new types of underlying assets have come into the fold. There are, however, no precedents of a previously approved Islamic transaction being declared to be non-compliant by the scholars with retrospective effect. So even though new forms of Islamic contracts have, or application of Islamic contracts have been introduced, for example, the first sukuk was only done on the basis of a sale and leaseback structure, but now there have been several other types of structures done. That doesn't mean that what's been done in the past has been effectively, renounced in any way by the scholars. There are no precedents of that having happened.
Ms. Calif-Lau.
Question. Although I think Mr. Chong has rightly pointed out that the non-compliance, I mean the compliance process is a continuous process, right? Although Mr. Chong has pointed out that the non-compliance, for example, during the term of the instrument is not an event of default, but commercially speaking or practically speaking, what implications it will have if during the term of the to the investors, of course. I'm talking about the protection of investors. What legal implication or practical implication would it have if the instrument during the middle of the term is not Sharia compliant? What will happen, in fact?
Mr. Nasir?
In part of the amendments that I suggested, I had put in certain aspects where there would be replacement of the product. So where you get a situation of that nature, it's within the experience of those formulating it to be able to change product, replace product. So it's not unusual if it's right. But usually these things are considered well in advance anyway. But if an event should arise, then you can replace product. And I've suggested that within the amendments.
Jiang-san?
Yeah, sorry, just to reiterate, when I talk about non-compliance effectively, as mentioned, as explained, within the documentation itself, right, it does provide for, the assets to be able to be replaced. So if for whatever reason, the assets become non-compliant, right, the issuer has a right to be able to replace those assets, and it's an undertaking that they have to replace those assets. So to date, we haven't seen any non-compliance from that perspective. That's why you don't build into the sukuk structure itself an event of default from that perspective, just because it's Sharia non-compliant, because it's provided for in the contract itself.
Okay. 好，冇其他問題啦嘛。Okay.
Further questions? Mr. Abraham Shat.
The question that the right of replacement is on the not to the extent that this could disadvantage the investors. Is there any protection for the investors when there have been a change of products because of non-compliance? I'm talking on protection of the investors.
邊一位可以答 ？Mr. Zhong.
Yeah, it will be the same type of product. So if it's a sale and leaseback, for example, generally it will be the sale and leaseback as well.
When there is value change, value can go up and value can go down.
Yeah, but it has to be of the same value.
Then it went down. This means that there has been effect on the product, on the contract. I mean, have I made myself clear?
No, just to complete, it's the replacement of the same value.
Okay.
Right, so you're not replacing something which is more inferior.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ahmed.
I think it's important to make the distinction that investor protection in the context of ongoing Sharia compliance is different from the value of the investment. So I think this is exactly the kind of risk that we have to be mindful of, that sometimes if investors are losing money on an investment, they may want to consider, whether there is any way to sort of seek recourse on the grounds that an investment has become non-Sharia compliant. So as far as Sharia compliance is concerned, as long as the asset is replaced with a comparable asset in case there is destruction of the asset or that asset needs to be taken out of the pool for some reason, then Sharia compliance on an ongoing basis is ensured. Now, what we ensure in these sukuk bonds is that every investor has the opportunity to look at the certification of the structure that has been provided by the Sharia scholars. And based on that, the investors make the determination of whether they are comfortable with the disclosure of the nature of the underlying contract as being Sharia compliant from their perspective. So by investing in that transaction, they are acknowledging that they understand the structure and they accept the fact that it is considered to be Sharia compliant from their perspective. So to the extent nothing changes in the fundamental structure, if they change their view, that doesn't necessarily mean that the underlying structure has become non-compliant at a later stage.
Thank you for this detailed explanation. You see, the reason why we have to ask so many questions, because we are legislating in uncharted waters. A lot of things that this is something new to us, as to me. I think it's something that is very important that we know exactly what we are legislating for. Not that we don't trust government, that we are here to check on the government, and we just want to know how much they understand this, so that as legislators we have to ask all these questions. Possibly we haven't asked enough because we don't know what to ask. As I said, that these are all uncharted waters, and it's very important that we must need to know. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I just want to add that we shouldn't penalize Sharia financial products for being non-Sharia, running the risk of non-Sharia compliance, because actually deep down we're talking about governance issue, and conventional financial instruments have the same issue. So I think just want to bring that point up.
But it's slightly different, because you're talking of ordinary financial issues or products, whatever it is, but they are not subjected to some form of religious laws. All these religious laws are different from other products, which are all commercial, based on commercial principles, based on commercial understanding. Religious law is beyond human understanding of the ordinary people, because it's based on a number of Sharia scholars. The scholars itself, as explained to us, there are 5 different schools, and that 5 different schools could come into different interpretation. Like even in Hong Kong with the basic law, when we have problems, we go to NPC, the National People's Congress, to seek interpretation. But our interpretation rests on the 5 scholars. That scholars, their thinking and the religious belief is different. So that's why we have to be so careful. There's a lot of other people's money putting into an investment. Not that we don't trust this particular entity, we need to understand more, that's all.
Mr. Asher?
Yes, actually there are 5 different school of thought. But in finance, there is only one school of thought. They are all 5 agreed. And you can see the same finance in Iran, same in Dubai, same. Actually, there are different school of thought that is not related to finance. There are other issues, other practical, other ibadah, like worshipping, like punishment, some others. But in the finance, there is consensus, and there is agreement among all the scholars. So I believe there will be no problem in this field.
嗱，我哋延長嗰個會議嘅時間咧。
Now we can only extend the meeting till 10:45.
係咯。Mr. Nasser, you want to respond?
I think it might be easy to understand in the sense that as far as Islamic finance is concerned, it's basically the Islamic rule is everything is determined by contracts and agreement between the parties. So it's primarily a question of contract. The only thing where Islamic law applies is in the prohibition, what you're not allowed to do, which is basically, as Imam Arshad said, uncertainty, gambling, interest. So one really looks at what is not allowed from the Islamic principle rather than Islamic law as such. It's only what is not allowed, and that's those few elements.
Okay, Mr. Edigo.
I just want to mention that, but mentioned already. I think the key is the deal structure, and the key is the lawyer and the banker, and that's why we adopt a religious neutral approach, for fear that the religious law will supersede the common law or contract law. And the other point I want to remind the IRD is that in the my opinion to the consultation paper, I remember that there would be at least 11 kinds of different kinds of sukuk in Malaysia, and four are popular one. So if I would recommend you include these 4 cases or in your SARA members or opinions in your DIPN. Because these 4 are most popular one.
Okay, thank you. 謝禮議員，仲有冇咩跟進？冇啦，唔該，好啦嚇。OK，好啊。
Mr. Abraham Sheikh, any further follow-up points? No.
In case there are new sukuk products to be included, I just want to clarify, it would be included as a subsidiary legislation, or could it be included in the DIPN itself? Maybe the government can answer this question.
Yan小姐。
Is to include it as a piece of subsidiary legislation that the financial secretary can move for negative vetting by the legislative council. So I guess that the DIPNs can also supplement all the other administrative details with regard to interpretation and so on. But then if an expansion of the coverage is required, we usually we propose to do it through the making of a piece of subsidiary legislation.
Right. So let me once again thank the deputations for coming to the meeting. I think you've all provided us with very valuable advice. We now know more about the comments from the market, and now thank you very much once again for attending. So you can now be excused. We will deal with some other business before we adjourn. Members, in fact, there is one paper we need to follow up on. 693 Bracket 13. Can the Deputy Secretary take us through that paper, please? Yes, thank you. Yes, I think the comments we've just heard are relevant. First of all, members want to know about the outcome of the consultation exercise. Members want to know the tax law reforms in relevant jurisdictions to facilitate the development of Islamic bond markets, and also the investment environment for Sukuk in mainland financial markets. Perhaps I can just supplement with regard to the outcome of the public consultation exercise. Just now, some comments were received concerning the scope, and we've also included the agency arrangement, and there is flexibility built in to include other types. Now, because the structure of Islamic bond products is unique, and we want to offer some tax exemptions, and so concerning flexibility and other factors, we need to strike a balance. For example, maximum term length condition. Initially, we proposed 10 years. But the market sort of view that more flexibility should be allowed. And so we're now providing for no longer than 15 years. Then record-keeping requirements. Previously, we said more than 10 years. Now we've relaxed this requirement, and we're talking about the 3 years after the expiry of the product, or 7 years, or within 7 years after the incident. And then reasonable commercial return. Again, we need to strike a balance given the characteristics of the products. We have tried to lay down the main principles in the legislation, and yet there will be clearer guidance in the DIPNs. And I understand that the Commissioner and those in the market can further discuss the details to be included in the DIPNs. So these are the points for members' information. Do members have any questions? No? Then we've dealt with this paper already. And we'll start clause by clause scrutiny next time. Now we've reserved a few time slots. 5th of April, a Friday, 2:30 p.m. 15th of April, Monday, 4:30. And 30th of April, 10:45 a.m. Now, members, many members are not present today. Some members may not be in Hong Kong on the 5th of April. I'll ask. So next meeting 2:30, 5th of April. But I'll have to ask whether members will be able to attend because we need a quorum. We only have 3 members here today. Mr. Leung. I want to know the duration of the 3 meetings, 2-hour meetings they will be. So we will inform the administration of the date of the next meeting once it has been